Good day, everybody. We're so glad that some of you are able to come and join us. We can't have our regular classes anymore, so we're going to kind of do some video, reading stories, and doing some songs. And we hope that you enjoy what we're putting together for you. Miss Ashley and I, Miss Jane, Mrs. B, whatever you called me, are here today to do some Christmas things for you. And the first one is a book that everybody should get when they get their bag from ECFE, and it's called The Biggest Christmas Tree Ever. So we're going to read that story. It was written by Stephen Kroll and illustrated by Jenny Bassett, and we know that means Jenny drew the pictures and Stephen wrote the words. So here we go. Look at all those trees. Once there were two mice who fell in love with the same Christmas tree, but you had to see it to believe it. Everyone in Mouseville loved Christmas trees. Every Christmas, families all over town put up the biggest tree that they could find. But first, Thanksgiving. The day before the celebration, Clayton, the house mouse, took a walk around Mouseville. He knew he should be thinking about giving thanks, but the chill in the air made him think of Christmas. You know what he said out loud? This year, I'm going to find the biggest Christmas tree ever. Not far away, Clayton's friend Desmond, the field mouse, said exactly the same thing. That night, Clayton helped his mom and dad, his brother Andy, and his sister Trudy make a special cheese casserole and a nut pie for Thanksgiving dinner. Over at Desmond's house, Desmond and his brother Morris helped Uncle Vernon fix a big pot of vegetable stew and a cheesecake. Everyone ate too much. After dinner, Clayton's grandma and grandpa sat in the living room holding their tummies and grumbling, "Oh, I ate too much." Over at Desmond's, the cousins from across the road stretched out on Uncle Vernon's sofa and took a nap. The following morning, Clayton woke up early. He wanted to be at Clara's Christmas tree farm at the edge of town. That way he could have his pick of the biggest tree. Over at Desmond's house, Desmond tumbled out of bed with the same thought. Clayton hurried over to Clara's, but it was hard to go fast. He was still full from Thanksgiving dinner. By the time he reached the Christmas tree farm, he was out of breath. He looked around, but no one was there. Moments later, Desmond arrived. He too was full of Thanksgiving dinner. He had found it hard to hurry. He took a deep breath and stumbled along. Clayton wobbled down the row of trees. Here was a nice one, but it was way too small. There was another one, but it was squat and had a crooked top. Over there was a third, but it was average height and had big gaps between the branches. Struggling down another row, Desmond was having the same problem. Clayton leaned against a tree. It was scrawny and not very tall. "I'll find the tree I want," he said, "but right now I better go home." Not far away, squinting at another tree, Desmond said, "I'll never find the tree I want. I better go home." When Clayton reached his house, it was only in the middle of the morning, but he was still so full and so tired, he fell back into his bed. When Desmond reached the house, he too went back to bed. He was tired. Clayton woke up for lunch and spoke to his dad. His dad said, "Go out this afternoon. Walk to the far edge of the Christmas tree farm. The biggest trees are there." When Desmond woke up for lunch, Uncle Vernon told him the very same thing. That afternoon, Clayton went out again. At the very same time, Desmond did too. Clayton walked to the far edge of the Christmas tree farm. He looked at one big tree after another, but none of them looked like the biggest Christmas tree ever. Down another path, Desmond was having the same luck. Starting to lose hope, Clayton peered around a very thick trunk. Desmond peeked around the very same thick trunk, and they bumped heads and fell down. I bet you've been looking for the biggest Christmas tree ever, said Clayton. I bet you've been looking for the biggest Christmas tree ever, said Desmond. Why don't we find it together, said Clayton. No one said we couldn't, said Desmond. They set out through the rows of trees. They looked and looked until it was almost dark. And just when they were ready to give up, there it was. A Christmas tree so big and so tall, it reached the sky. You see they're pointing at this big tree? Wow. But how will we cut it down, Clayton asked. It's much too big for the two of us. And where will we put it? Desmond asked. It won't fit in your house or mine. Desmond and Clayton smiled. I think our families will help us, they said together. And that's what happened. Clayton's dad and Uncle Vernon came with their axes, and with a little help from Clayton and Desmond, they chopped down that giant tree. Both families called on friends and relations, and together they loaded the tree onto 100 little red wagons and pulled it to Clayton's front yard. There they decorated it with the most wondrous ornaments and colored lights. Are you ready? And on Christmas Eve, all of Mouseville, celebrating around the Christmas tree, was lit up the entire hillside. Clayton and Desmond shared a high five. We did it, said Clayton. All of us together, said Desmond.